Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah!
Yeah!
We got it! We got
New 52 booklet.
it! Somebody clip this one.
Welcome to Justice League Rewatch. I'm Jared. I'm here with Nick from the Phoenix Press. What's up, brother?
Best episode ever!
Oh, you mean it featured Nightwing and Batgirl being a couple?
No!
Thank you. You might as well call this episode The Wheel of Time, but so we're talking about kid stuff. The episode where the Trinity and Green Lantern get turned into kids by Mordred.
Also, Wonder Woman.
Yes, and by the way, there was a Super Wonder moment in this episode, but I will address later.
Well, there was plenty more other moments.
Well, the interesting part here is that you notice that when Green Lantern gets his glasses, he changes them into the Kyle Rayner glasses.
Interesting.
Into the Kyle Rayner, yeah, like fun thing. So basically, Morgana Le Fey, King Arthur's half-sister, is trying to raise Mordred. He becomes a rebellious kid, takes over, and then gets rid of all of the adults. And it's just kids in charge. And I love how, like, in that one scene, you have the kids getting homework, their teacher vanishes, it's quiet for a second, and everyone's like, yes! Because that's totally what would happen.
I will say from the outset, this is another episode that feels more like a Justice League episode rather than a jail. Like I feel like they had like a couple leftover scripts from the Justice League days that they wanted to produce. Like, oh, we'll just do it under Justice League Unlimited. I mean, who cares? I really feel like these are more Justice League scripts than Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, a little bit. You can kind of go off of that.
It's a nitpick. It's a nitpick at the end of the day as well.
Also, there's a Snyder-verse character in this episode.
Zack Snyder makes an appearance?
No, but remember the character that has
I was about to
machine
say,
gun?
I didn't see God anywhere.
Thank you. Remember, there was the in the beginning when we first see the Justice League, they're fighting that group of criminals, and you see like the one dude that's in the black and red outfit with the gun on his arm.
Okay.
That is the dude with the flamethrower from BVS. I'll kill her.
So that's KG Beast.
That's KG Beast. That is KG Beast. Which again, that's how I knew Zack Snyder reads the comics, because there's no way someone that has a very loose interpretation of the comics puts KG Beast in.
See, okay, I gotta go on a slight tangent here. So this is why I much prefer Zack Snyder's approach to obscure characters rather than James Gunn. Because when James Gunn sees a obscure character, his first thought is, "Oh, an obscure character! I can do whatever I want with it," and he just completely redoes the character. Or it's hardly the same character anymore. But because it's an obscure character, oh, he can get away with it. Zack says, "Oh, an obscure character." He brings it there mostly intact. Does he make changes? Yes.
Because
But
you can't have KG Beast in a modern movie with a gun arm.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of confused. Are you agreeing with me or are you disagreeing?
No, I am agreeing with you, because I was saying mostly intact. The part that he changed was like the gun for an arm, and I agree with that because that doesn't translate well to live action.
Okay, fair enough. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like Gunn keeps it Zack Snyder keeps it mostly intact, whereas James Gunn used it as an excuse to just do whatever.
Because of your Freudian slip about James Gunn.
Dweeb.
So
I deserve that.
So the entire Justice League is banished to the Shadow Realm, and Morgan Le Fey says, "Okay, I will turn you into kids so you can go fight my son." So they emerge as kids. By the way, I love Batman when they're charging at the castle and Batman is like falling behind because he can't fly, and then he's like, "It's not a race." And I love what they did was they didn't have them when they turned them into kids. Their personalities turned into that of kids. It wasn't just like their adult personas put in the kids thing.
Yeah, they were still, you know, they still had their memories and stuff intact. Like, yeah, they very much acted like kids, and let's just say some of their inhibitions did kind of fly out the window. Like they didn't hide things as much, especially Diana.
Well, Batman it kept with the whole "get away from me" thing, but what's also really funny. All right, what's also really funny. So if you notice that scene where they're going to like split up, you notice how like when they're choosing who's going to go in, and first it's Diana and Clark's like, "I'm okay with this."
Stretch.
Oh my gosh, it's that's no more of a stretch than Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson hanging out. I'm just gonna the more you do this, dude, because I know your buttons at this point. So anyway, the thing is, and so that was like my one like Super Wonder moment where I was like, okay, I dig that one. And
you know what I dig?
What?
When Diana was like, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm gonna go with Bruce instead.
Yeah, and Superman, and then Bruce is like, whatever, and he just goes away. I just love how even as a child, Bruce rejects Diana. So this is obviously not an episode written by Bruce Timm. I had to put that in there.
I'd say it was written by Bruce Timm and then edited by someone else. Like, okay, we can't screw up these lines, but we can edit these lines and make it less cringy.
Or you could just not do it. I know it's hard for Bruce Timm to say no to his innermost inhibitions, but still. Oh my gosh. But the other issue that I really, really, really have in this episode is that, because here's the thing. Here's what you have to understand. And Britt and I have said this on the show. Here's why it doesn't work. Because, all right. So, in Justice League, Kevin Conroy, of all people, said that Wonder Woman is a one-note character. He said that in interviews, so I'm like, okay, you're a fantastic Batman. I disagree with you on this one point. That's it. But that's
okay. Let's.
But wait, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
But to be clear, nothing against Kevin Conroy. The dude's awesome. But in this one point, he's wrong, and this was the attitude of the Justice League writers, and that's why they wrote Diana as like a rebellious girl. So what does the rebellious girl go with? The bad boy.
I disagree with that interpretation, but in regards to the whole thing, you want to know who would be the first person to say that him and Diana would work out?
No one.
I said no. The first person to say him and Diana wouldn't work out
is Batman.
Batman
is literally everyone capable of logical thinking.
Batman literally says it in the show. So, by the way, I'm teasing this to tease. I'm teasing you with all this stuff.
By the way, I can think of I know. I can think of one other person that if you ask them, they'll tell you if this works. You ready?
Yeah, second Warner Brothers.
'Cause he said so. So, but anyway.
Okay, if you ever get Zack Snyder on the show, you have to get him to say, "Suck it, WonderBat."
WonderBat doesn't work. So anyway, but
that clip will permanently
that will be the intro. No, I swear, if that happens, that will be the intro. That will be the first clip of the intro to the Super Wonder show. But anyway, so
I hope you get that clip. I hope you do.
So they fight. They fight Mordred. He's super powerful. He throws them into a dungeon, and then they encounter Baby Etrigan.
Can I just say, when Diana was doing all the motherly stuff, that was kind of adorable.
Well, that's what Wonder Woman is. She's kind of like the mom of the Justice League to a degree. I also love when they're trying to get the kids to stop misbehaving. She's like, "I'll tell." And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, God.
Yeah, they definitely play on a lot of tropes with this episode, which I actually don't mind it. They do it well.
Well, because it's kids stuff, so pun intended, because that's the name of the episode. So And then they finally fight Mordred. They trick him in the most Batman thing ever, where he goes, all right, you had all this power, but you could have aged yourself up instantly. I think you're just chicken. So Mordred ages up and then vanishes, because remember, in the rules of this new world, adults can't exist. So he vanishes, and then everything like gets undone, and then we get one of the best Batman moments in the entire show. One of them, where Diana goes, you know, despite everything, it was nice to be a kid again. And then Batman goes, I haven't been a kid since I was 8 years old.
Yeah, that kind of brought it down a little bit.
But also, I also love Wonder Woman reaches out to him, and he's like, no, get away from me. I'm like, thank you. To a degree, see, this episode was, in the beginning, part of that BS thing. And at the end of it, they're like, no, that's what DC does. That's the fun part about DC. They will tease it and then go, no.
Yeah, I agree. Like, is it fun to tease Jared with the WonderBat moments? Yes, it is very much fun. But at the end of the day, even this very episode just says it's just not going to happen.
I swear, this is the best moment of Tom King's Batman, and I have this issue in trades now, and as soon as I got to it, I was like, so Wonder Woman, and so it's a ripoff of a Wonder Woman and Superman story, so there's literally starting to rip off Superman stories, where she takes Clark, and they go into Asgard, and they fight for 1,000 years. So in this one, kind of the same thing happens. But so, they're in the cave, the previous issue ends with them leaning in like they're gonna kiss. And then the first issue starts. And they stop. And then Batman goes, this can't happen. This will never happen. That was like, ha ha! Thank you, Tom freaking King.
You may hate him for a lot of what he's done, but for this, you love him.
I'm sorry, that redeemed a lot. That brought him from low to, okay, I'll put you on an even playing field with the other writers.
I bet if you told him that, he would just smile and laugh.
He would smile and laugh, because the dude puts Batman and Catwoman together, which I agree with. So there you go. And also, again, Zack Snyder saying, okay, so it's fun to play with, but when you really do the math about it, it doesn't work. And by the way, I wish I was live when we were doing that, because Taladia and Jay Heat, when Zack started talking about WonderBat, I sort of tensed up, because I'm like, am I about to have to end this right now? And then he goes, it doesn't work.
You literally would have ended the stream of Zack Snyder.
It wasn't a stream. We were just watching the BVS at the same time as watching the panel. So when he says it doesn't work, legit, I was like, yes!
What would you have done if Zack Snyder had promoted WonderBat? Like, I'm curious now.
I would have said he's allowed to be wrong about one thing.
And I would have thrown that in your face at every opportunity.
Well, guess what? Now you can't.
Yes, I am bound by.
I'm going to ask him, by the way, if I ever talk to him, his opinions on Barbara and Nightwing. See what happens with that. That would be so much fun.
And you're going to make sure I'm in the panel just so you can see my face.
Or I'm going to make that your intro whenever you join the show. By the way, you know what I'm going to do? I need to make... I'm going to get that scene, that clip from the BVS panel, and make that a drop. So whenever I mention WonderBat, I can drop in, doesn't work. But anyway.
The thing is, I'm honestly surprised you haven't done it already.
I probably will. So, Nick, I wanted to ask you, so we're recording this the day after Batman Day, so we're still in Batman Day mood. So I wanted to ask you specifically, with this line about I haven't been a kid since 8 years old. I mean, that really hits with Batman, because you know what, there was a interpretation that Bruce Wayne actually died in that alley. In other words, all three of the Waynes died, and Batman was born that day, not with the whole bat coming through the window and saying, all right, Father, I shall become a bat.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that interpretation, because how many times have we seen where Bruce sees himself not as Bruce Wayne, but as Batman, where Bruce Wayne is the alter ego? Like, we've seen multiple interpretations of that. So I view it as a valid a valid interpretation of events where Bruce Wayne died that day and Batman was born. Like Bruce emotionally died. Like Bruce emotionally died in that alley, and Batman was the one to take its place.
I agree. That's the way I see it, and that's why no relationship ultimately works with Bruce. Because here's the thing: I get that people don't like to hear when like some broken things can't be fixed. But here's the thing with Batman. At that point, he became laser focused on his like operation, which is to protect Gotham. And if anything distracts from that, he's like, no. Yeah, go ahead.
My pushback a little bit is, yes, some broken things can't be fixed, but they can be mended. They can be mended to the point where, yes, you're wounded, yes, you hurt, but you can still leave. Not all those who wander are lost. True
that. But I think that
like my I'm sorry, there's a kind of second part of this. I paused, so I understand why you jumped in. I feel like Bruce can get to a point where he's fine enough that he can let someone else into his life, but he has to be someone who understands his life, understands him. And Catwoman is one of those people. I feel like she understands Bruce in a way that very few other women do. Like literally, I kind of think the only woman who would even come close would maybe be Talia.
Maybe Catwoman is the exception because here's why. From a utilitarian standpoint, she directly helps in his mission. The fact that they're in love is an added bonus. I mean, from the strictly utilitarian face, and I've always felt Bruce secretly loves, in the same way that Superman secretly is in love with only Diana, Batman is secretly only in love with Catwoman. Because here's what Catwoman does for Bruce. I've said many times that Bruce has a very absolutist view on crime. Catwoman directly challenges that because ultimately she became a criminal because she was desperate.
And yeah, it's like because here's the thing. One of the things that often is overlooked by a lot of people when it comes to a relationship is lifestyle compatibility. That's why, like, when you see a lot of musicians marry other musicians or actors marry other actors, because it's not as much a vanity thing as much as a, hey, this person is in the same life as well. They understand X, Y, and Z. And in the same reason why Catwoman makes sense for him, because Catwoman is in the same life as him. You know, so they understand each other's lives in a way that very few people can.
And I will say, one of the good scenes from that Batman Hush animated movie is when they're dancing at night. They see the bat signal. They take one look at each other and they just go right back to work. That montage of them like fighting side by side was pretty dope. Mm-hmm. That's why it's for scenes like that I still watch that movie. But so that's the end of this. So let's go through a little bit.
I have one more thing I want to say regarding the Batcat thing. I feel like this is one of the things in the Batman that they actually handled pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I would say so, yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
This is the final appearance of Morgan Le Fey and Mordred in the DCAU, so we won't see them anymore, which makes sense because Mordred's an old man now. Green Lantern's altered mask is very similar to the one worn by Kyle Rayner.
Someone called that.
Which makes sense because here's the thing with the DCAU Green Lantern specifically, they amalgamated a lot of stuff with like both Green Lanterns. So it makes sense that they would give, like, for this brief moment, Kyle's mask to John. So there you go. The design for the Shadow Realm, the adults are banished to, was used in the Teen Titans episode Calling All Titans for an alternate dimension that Harold was in when Raven contacted him.
Oh.
And they also did a similar type of episode in Young Justice where the adults and the kids were like in separate dimensions, but Shazam can travel to both of them because the kid to an adult thing. This episode is very similar in some ways to the DC Comics series Justice League: A World Without Grown-Ups, which was a prelude to the creation and series of Young Justice starring Robin, Superboy, and Impulse. And in the story, a blonde-haired boy comes into possession of an artifact that contains in it a purple energy similar to Mordred. The boy will roll with. So there you go, and this is how you get the Young Justice team. And then this was the first of 3 episodes in which the villain transformed Wonder Woman into another form. Cersei turns her into a pig, and then Gorilla Grodd turned her, along with everyone else on Earth, into an ape. Man, Wonder Woman has had quite the tenure in this show. And she's been rebuffed by a rich kid with issues. A lot of issues. There you go. There you go.
I also like. I can't wait till we get to the episode. But like, my favorite moment is when after that happens, she literally crushes the gargoyle.
Mm-hmm. By the way, fun fact: do you know who voices young Wonder Woman? Dakota Fanning. I'm digging that. I like that. All right, you know who voices Etrigan? Kevin Conroy. I love when they get turned back into adults and she's still holding Etrigan and Etrigan goes mommy and then she just drops them.
That was funny. So
really
that kind of reminds me of a fun fact.
Yeah.
So for the movie Labyrinth, they had like the magic dance song, and there's this one moment where he goes, and baby says, and like the baby still goes to gurgle. They actually brought the baby into the studio, but they couldn't get it to the sounds. So David Bowie was like, fine, I'll do it myself, and he made the sounds.
I like that. That's really cool. And the last thing I'll mention is one of my favorite things is when Green Lantern, because he's a kid who probably had ADHD, he can't decide on what construct to make. He's like, I'll make this, I'll make this, I'll make this. To the point where Superman has to go, Lantern, go crazy.
I love how they have to like talk him down from using a lawnmower.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, because any kid would be like, and I'm going to make a wood chipper to throw him in. But that's where I'm going to halt this discussion. So, Nick, how would you rate this episode out of 10?
I give it an 8.0.
Be very careful. Okay, 8.0. Okay, why the 2 points off?
Like I said, this is more of a Justice League episode. I'm here for Justice League Unlimited, not for Justice League. I want like the big rosters. I want like all the crazy stuff, and this is very much a Justice League. This is a Justice League. Like, this is a Justice League episode. It's not a Justice League Unlimited episode. The plot itself is okay. I wasn't really too much of a fan of it. The kids were kind of cool, but I don't know. It just didn't really do too much for me. Like, And honestly, like, even the WonderBat moments where like the only reason I care about him is because I can tease Jared. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason I care. That's the only reason I care about WonderBat is to tease Jared. And there, clip that.
By the way, the next one is gonna be very Justice League Unlimited, dude. Like very Justice League for obvious answers. So I rate this one I want to be fair on this, but it did include that. I gotta give it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, betrayal!
It was still interesting. It was still fun, but that knocks off 4 points because it was
betrayal.
It was the most cringe stuff ever.
I know the episode with the gargoyles and Bruce telling Dan off is going to get a 10 out of 10.
That's going to get a 10 out of 10 instantly because he says it's not going to work. Here's why. Get away from me.
Like, I'm telling you guys right now, that spoiler, that is a 10 out of 10.
I'm going to tell you right now, that preemptively gets a 10 out of 10. So anyway, the next episode is Hawk and Dove, and it features Hawk and Dove, and it deals a lot with war. And it features Wonder Woman, Hawk and Dove, obviously, and the God of War.
Kratos is making an appearance? I'm sorry, you set it up.
Did someone say New Direction? So
you're really bent this point really far.
Why did you say that name?
Got him.
So stay heroic, everyone, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.